We're the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. The U.S. Supreme Court will review a Colorado preschool case affecting LGBTQ parents. Advocates warn the ruling would allow discrimination in publicly funded programs and impact queer families nationwide.
The FBI used a government plane to retrieve a child from Cuba in a custody dispute involving a transgender parent. This is raising concerns over aggressive federal intervention in cases tied to gender-affirming care for minors.
$150,000 raised to support gay father David Vollin's legal defense after his arrest following alleged provocations by right-wing media in West Hollywood.
Anti-LGBTQ Ohio pastor Silas Shelton pleaded guilty to unlawful sexual conduct with a minor, admitting years of abuse. This highlights abuse of power within faith community leadership roles.
Time 100 Most Influential People honors queer leaders across law, fashion, sports, and entertainment, spotlighting advocacy, visibility, representation, and global influence in 2026. All this important LGBTQ plus news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight's YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 12 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice and our rainbow family. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, April 23rd. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show.
Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a non-profit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but created for the LGBTQ community. Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
In 2026, our magazine is celebrating 41 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 14,000 LGBTQ television stories. We represent South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fete. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2026, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share the voice as our anchors. Together, we host the show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen, a world traveler and well-versed in global affairs. Bobby provides an international perspective on current events, a PhD in conflict resolution. Bobby is a certified civil and family mediator and the founder of BH Conflict Resolution Services. Welcome to the show, Bobby. What's happening out?
Thank you, Larry. Well, as always, I've been advertising my services for small and medium-sized nonprofits in order to streamline their complaints or dispute resolution systems. And of course, I also do that for any kind of private businesses as well. So if you ever have a dispute that needs to be resolved, or you want a system to report and resolve the dispute yourself, you can reach me at bhcrs.com.
We'll be sure to send people to you and refer them to you. Thank you for coming. Let's welcome anchor Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of OUTshine magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Alex. What's happening out?
Oh, nothing. Thank you for having me, everyone. It's always fun to be here. I'm ready for all these stories. I've got my red for defending my leftists today. It's going to be fun.
Awesome. Glad to have you here. Let's welcome anchor Rex Rogosch. Rex is a visionary designer with over 30 years of experience in product design, interior design, and architecture. He performs in the drag community as International Lords and is current reigning Mr. Scandals 2026. Rex is the president and co-founder of Lentera, a 501c3 organization dedicated to advancing mental health awareness through inclusive, community-driven events. Rex Come As You Are Prom is returning with Speakeasy, Glam, and Purpose on May 2nd. Tell me, what's happening out?
I'm so excited. Lentera presents the third annual Come As You Are Prom at the Speakeasy era on May 2nd from 7 to 11 p.m. This 21 and over immersive event invites guests to show up authentically and step into the hidden Speakeasy world filled with glamour, music, and connection. Expect live entertainment, dancing, and the crowning of prom royalty in a night designed for escape and celebration. The location is revealed after ticket purchased at lanterafl.org/events. Every ticket supports Lentera's Open Arms and Open Heart mission funding local mental health initiatives. Dress up or don't, and come as you are for a meaningful, magical evening. I can't believe we are just over a week away. It's just super exciting to see all the community support, and I've been watching who's being involved, and then just all the sponsors that we've had, and it really is a really diverse type of people that are going to be there. And I'm really excited that we have a live singer for the VIP hour. We have flapper dancers, and we have DJ Marky Mark for the rest of the evening. We have steps and repeats. So it really is going to be kind of this all-inclusive, immersive night to just come and have fun.
And certainly, I'm sure you're encouraging people to RSVP in advance, but can people come to the event and pay at the door?
Absolutely. Okay. We will have ticket sales at the door. So starting at 7 o'clock, you can come and purchase a VIP ticket. 8 o'clock is general admission.
Sounds very exciting.
I can't wait.
Now, you said the date, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, that's not this Saturday. That is next Saturday, everybody. You better buy your tickets now.
Next Saturday.
I can only imagine how much is going on in your life getting ready for this.
I have decorations and stuff showing up on my doorstep every day.
Wow. Dedicated Amazon truck.
Yes, for sure.
Well, Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at Come As You Are Prom on May 2nd.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Larry Farver. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade float design, production, and casting. He is also a board member of the West Side Association. Larry, I Know Who My God Is will screen at OUTshine on April 28th. You are a part of it too. Tell me, what's happening out?
Absolutely, Bobby. The documentary short, I Know Who My God Is, screens at the OUTshine Film Festival on Tuesday, April 28th at 7 p.m. at Paradigm Cinemas Gateway. Directed by Smita, affectionately known as Sam Adhikari, the film explores the intersection of faith and LGBTQIA+ identity through powerful personal stories of resilience, reclamation, and transformation, featuring voices including Claudia Castillo, Sherman Yee, Cal Gadraj, Carvel Estriplet, Robert Hadley, myself, Len Wright, Jocelyn Flawless, Ven KR, and Velvet Lenore. The screening invites audiences to witness how belief and identity can coexist. More details at outshinefilm.com. Well, it's exciting to see this film coming to the film festivals. Having done this since my college years, and I'm not going to say how long ago that is, on and off, it's exciting when something finally makes it to a festival. You always hope that it gets distributed later on as a result. But I think I was part of this probably 3 or 4 years ago. Wow. So sometimes it takes a couple of years, but I've worked on other projects with Sam, and she is an amazing person to work with. Sam has also partnered with It's Mary Productions and Dana Davis and Candace Kane. So she's sometimes behind on the camera, but this is her own piece. and I've worked with her on some other things, so it's exciting. So I'm looking forward to seeing the film and also seeing the views of other folks. I'm trying to remember what I said at that time, and hopefully my beliefs are still the same.
Well, and it's a local connection too.
Absolutely.
Everybody is in there is from
the local. Entire list was basically Queer News Tonight All-Stars. I believe the entire, everyone mentioned there has been on the show at one point or another. Yes. And of course, Sherman, we know, who runs a great gallery right on, and Miss Castillo, who also runs another gallery.
Yes.
We are on Wheeler Drive. Come for the bars, stay for the galleries.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, it was a lot of, it was a lot of fun. I hope that a lot of you can come out. And I wanted to make a note too that if you're not available to come out on Tuesday at 7:00 at the Gateway Theater, the film will be available May 4th through the 10th online. So you can go to OUTshine. And I believe that holds true for all the other features. So I want to catch some of the ones I won't be able to see, but I'll definitely be there with some of my guests. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. Well, Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the screening of I Know Who My God Is on April 28th.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up gay culture. Supreme Court to decide if public preschools can exclude kids of LGBTQ plus parents nationwide. The case, St. Mary Catholic Parish in Littleton versus Roy, challenges Colorado's universal preschool program, which requires all participating providers, including religious schools, to follow non-discrimination rules covering sexual orientation and gender identity. On April 20th, the justices agreed to review the case. Arguments are expected starting in October, with a decision likely by June next year. Lower courts have upheld Colorado's policy, stating it applies equally to religious and non-religious providers. However, challengers argue the rule forces faith-based schools to choose between public funding and their religious beliefs. LGBTQ advocates warn that the outcome could impact families nationwide. Marty Moore of Rocky Mountain Equality says the case raises concerns about taxpayer-funded programs potentially allowing discrimination. The ruling could set a national precedent on whether religious providers in public programs can turn away children based on their parents' identities. Well, there's a whole lot to unpack on that. I personally, and I'm sure I'm not alone, believe if a school is funded by taxpayer dollars, it has to be non-discrimination, and they have to support the community. That can't change. If that does change, we have a lot of work to do in our community. What do you all think?
And I think that this is especially insidious because they're not targeting the students' gender identity or sexual orientation. You can say that, I'm a Catholic school and I do not want gay kids here. Okay, I mean, it's a private school. It's up to you. I don't think that you should get public funds. But here it is about the parents' sexual orientation. This is beyond just the child. They do not care about the child welfare as much as they care about the sexual identity of the people who are raising the child,
Correct.
Which is, for me, particularly intrusive and particularly insidious. And also, Pope Leo, we're all big fans of you since, you yell at who. So, and I know that people, this current Catholic leaders have been trying to lean more of on the liberal side. Maybe, withdraw this lawsuit. I mean, it's not, the Archdiocese doesn't need to fight it.
Well, there is the point there of this does feel a little anti-Catholic, but to discriminate against kids that you would serve. But for me, the bigger issue, and I find Colorado politicians, when I am unfortunately have to deal with them occasionally, to be some of the worst Democrats in this country. Why on earth are you funding private schools and private and religious daycare centers to begin with? Whether we're talking about charter schools, private schools, religious schools, the government shouldn't be public only. That's how you make it simple. Just fund public schools properly and public preschools properly. That's how you should be doing it.
I was actually going to say the same thing. I mean, we have to disseminate here between public and private education. These are preschools. Mm-hmm. If it is a faith-based, more than likely it is being backed by their church, regardless if it's Protestant, Baptist, Catholic, Mormon, whatever. Typically, the people that are putting their preschool children, we're talking children that are 2, 3, and 4 years old, maybe sometimes 5 if they have to be aftercare from kindergarten. If you're going to a Catholic school, more than likely you're Catholic
Born.
board, religious, and all that. So I agree with you. I mean, why are private institutions getting public funding? Part number one. Part number two. This is actually more than just a religious situation. This opens up the gates for anybody who gets public funding to be able to discriminate anybody for any reason.
Exactly. And we all know that's the hard rights end game on these sorts of laws.
So it's not just gay. It's not just transgender. It's I can now discriminate anybody. And it's hard to prove too, because there's so many people who who are trying to get their kids into kindergarten or preschool, and they sign up for their baby before the baby's even born to get in.
Wow.
And so they don't have to tell you. It's just kind of like anything else. Sorry, you apply for a job. They don't tell you why you got fired or you didn't get in or so this is the same situation. Sorry, you don't qualify. They don't have to tell you.
And I find that it's actually very interesting when you mention Colorado, is because I feel like there's kind of this weird small government libertarian streak, despite the fact that Colorado has a very blue government and a state legislature.
They're corporatist Dems in Colorado. I can't stand dealing with them.
They are, I feel like...
Including the gay governor.
Yeah.
I've found them to be very pro-business compared to...
Governor Polis aside, which this is not about him really. It is about this kind of weird, like, anti-government streak that runs through the spirit, the culture out there. Or even
it's
in
not
the culture
just out there.
Yeah.
I mean, private funding, whether we're talking about federal contractors or charter schools, that's become rampant in this country, and that makes no sense.
If you're anti-government, you're not accepting public funding. You can't say I'm anti-government, but give me your money.
Well, but isn't that the same?
You'd think that, but they love the money one way or the other.
Isn't
that no one's going to turn down money, but at the same time, you can't say stay out of my business. But give me your money.
But isn't that the same mentality from the Tea Party days when they're like, we need to cut down the entire federal government, and where's my Medicaid money?
Get your government hands off my Medicaid.
Well,
is my favorite line.
I'm sure we'll be talking about this again in the near future. It seems to be trending, that's for sure.
I'm Bobby Huen, and let's queer up the USA view. FBI sends government plane to retrieve trans child from Cuba in gender-affirming care case. In a rare federal intervention, the FBI sent a government plane to Cuba to recover a child at the center of a custody dispute involving a trans parent. Authorities allege Rose Inessa Ethington, a transgender woman, took her 10-year-old child to Cuba for potential gender-affirming care without the consent of the child's birth mother. The child, assigned male at birth, identified as a female and had been living under a shared custody agreement. A federal complaint filed in Utah states that Rose told the birth mother she was taking the child on a camping trip to Canada, but instead traveled to Cuba and stopped communicating after March 28th. The child was due to be returned on April 3rd. On April 13th, a Utah court ordered the child's return and granted sole custody to the birth mother. The U.S. Department of Justice confirmed on April 21st that the child has been reunited with her mother. Rose and her partner, Blue Inessa Ethington, now faces federal charges of international parental kidnapping. The FBI's Violence Crimes Against Children unit led the investigation. Legal experts told the New York Times that deploying a government plane in a custody dispute is highly unusual. Donald Trump, at the beginning of the second term, issued an executive order banning gender-affirming care for minors. While federal courts have blocked the policy, the government's response in this case suggests the authorities are inclined to aggressive intervention in disputes concerning gender-affirming care. However, FBI officials claim the primary goal behind their approach was the child's safety and well-being. I'm just going to put a guess here that, if the child is not trans and the parent's not trans and this is not a trans-focused situation, the government would not have spent the resources to go to Cuba, which, by the way, is a country that is not exactly in harmony with the United States government, especially the current administration, in order to wrangle a kid back. I mean, this has aggressive law enforcement action actually used to disguise scapegoating. Yes, as a family mediator, I understand the very the very frustration the birth mother faces. There's a shared custody agreement. You're taking the child to Cuba, to a country where if you want, you can disappear into the crowd and never be found again, and have your child go through gender-affirming care without both parties' consent. However, I'm wondering if I'm not going to cast aspersion because I do not know all the facts of the case, but if the birth mother maybe refuses to even understand affirming therapy, maybe that is why the other parent, the transgender parent, took the child to Cuba to do this therapy because it wasn't allowed to be done under the birth mother's watch.
Well, also there's a couple things. One, like gender-affirming care for a 10-year-old tends to be puberty blockers, and like Cuban doctors, they're still very well-trained doctors. They're not going to do something more extreme than that. But like, when you say like, oh, the U.S. government doesn't have good relationships with Cuba, the United States is actively doing acts of war against the Cuban people right now with their blockade. People do not have access to gas and oil and cannot turn on cars and electricity because of what they're doing. But like, all that being said, it probably is a better place to be as a trans person than in the United States right now. That's where we are.
So a couple of things here. So I agree. We don't know if the birth mother, it's joint custody. So we don't know if the birth mother is in agreement with their child having, trans affirming care, if they are in agreement with their child identifying as female. We don't hear that part of the story. So that, is a question mark for me. Unfortunately, I see this as international kidnapping, regardless of them being trans or not. So that right there in itself is a crime, and it does have consequences. I would like to take the trans part out of this.
Yes.
To be honest with you. I do agree that the federal government probably would not have stepped in as heavy if they had been
a cisgender couple
or child, but it is international kidnapping, and we already have a whole list of stuff that the FBI has been doing for people outside of their purview anyway.
Well, I mean,
Patel's girlfriend has been given security detail everywhere she goes. It's just the girlfriend. So the FBI is already doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. Yeah. But I do think that there's still a lot more to the story that needs to unfold. Yes. But I am sorry, this was international kidnapping of a child.
For me, I can't take the trans out of the equation just because of the way the United States is treating trans people. Well, that to me is where it gets.
I understand.
I think it has to be centered on trans rights because, like, right now in the United States, we are actively trying to take away people's
But that does not excuse you for kidnapping a child.
But we don't know the full fact. And if I had a trans kid, I definitely would think about leaving this country, regardless of if my spouse wanted to join me or not, because you have to protect the kid.
But that's not her spouse. That's the problem. Is that it's co-parenting, and they're separated.
Well, I'm wondering
if one is in that situation. I'm
wondering if the mother who brought the child and kidnapped had a legal rights to the child, meaning she adopted when they had the child together, even though the birth mother remained behind. But as Rex mentioned, it's still kidnapping. And, my take on transgender rights.
Yes.
So would it
but it's a tricky road.
Would it be kidnapping if a court did joint custody and one parent was Jewish with a Jewish kid in Germany in the 1930s? Would you consider it kidnapping? Legally, it would be. I would still side with that kid and that parent.
I'm not saying what they did is wrong as far as getting the child the care that the child needs, because it's hard to get that care within the United States,
especially Utah.
Exactly. However, you told a legal parent who has joint custody that you're going to Canada, and then you went to Cuba of all places. I mean, I'm sorry, that right there is wrong. The premise behind it might be correct, but the act in which you did makes it wrong.
I hear you, but it's a very common strategy to have to lie to the people you're fleeing from.
Well,
but you don't know that they're fleeing from.
Yeah, but that is fair.
Well, in Florida, we're always getting Amber Alerts. I do on my phone.
Sure.
So the horror of just being a parent and having your child, or being misled where your child's going.
In my experience as a family mediator, yes, I have had cases where one parent who is not American would threaten threatened custodial kidnapping
Sure.
and say that you'll never see your child again. You don't give me what you want. But on the other hand, I want to bring up a case that is from about 10 years ago. A lesbian couple have children. One child, actually. Eventually they break up. One of the lesbians renounced that she became an ex-gay, so to speak, or ex-lesbian, and basically kidnapped the child, took them to Central America with the help of evangelical, basically hiding behind a red line funded by evangelical churches. And till this day, no one sent an FBI plane to go find them and take them back.
Bob, that's like the best L word plot I've ever heard, and we need more.
And well, I'm just saying that, this is an extraordinary step by this particular administration.
I do agree. I do agree.
Do you want to close out a comment?
No, I was just, I do agree that I think this is extreme. We have history lately of the FBI doing stuff that's out of their purview. So I don't think this would have been blown up as much, to your point. I just do want to say that, again, because all the stuff with the trans part of it, if we take that part out and call that a separate conversation, this could be and we don't know all the facts according to this.
I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up gay culture. Online donors raised over $150,000 for gay dad who allegedly attacked an anti-gay troll on the street. A crowdfunding campaign is raising funds to support the legal defense of David Vollen, a gay father arrested after a street altercation in West Hollywood, California. The incident occurred as David and his husband, Anthony Vollen, were walking with their newborn in a Los Angeles neighborhood. They were approached by right-wing media personality Riley Niemi and a camera crew. The Vollens state that this crew initially identified themselves as CNN reporters. During the encounter, Niemi questioned the couple with claims linking gay men to child molestation and made repeated remarks about their parenting and use of surrogacy. The couple appeared visibly uncomfortable and attempted to disengage. As they walked away, the situation escalated. David Vollen confronted the reporter, shoving him and later striking him. His husband said that David was arrested and released after approximately 12 hours. Authorities have charged Vollen with a felony count of vandalism, alleging damage to a camera valued at $400 or more. Anthony Vollen has disputed that claim. In a fundraising appeal, Anthony Vollen said the incident has been destabilizing for their family and emphasized the financial strain of mounting a legal defense. He described his husband as a devoted parent and said their priority is maintaining stability as the case moves forward. Naomi, in a follow-up video, claimed he attempted to de-escalate the situation and questioned the couple's response. However, online reaction has largely criticized the encounter, with many accusing the media personality of provoking the confrontation for content. Well, let's start with a few things. First off, some other liberal on here will do a beautiful bleeding heart thing of violence isn't the answer. I'm not going to discuss that. Instead, I'm going to say, one, how dare the police arrest this parent for defending his child? What happened to stand your ground in this country? You have a right to self-defense in America. And I think that this couple was defending themselves from what was clearly a provocative attempt to attack them and put their child in an unsafe situation. If some random people who clearly were not CNN anchors said they were a CNN crew, I would think I was about to be attacked too.
And also the invocation of this decades-long blood libel, the whole idea that gay people will molest children. This is a whole cloth invention generated by James Dobson, the Family Research Council, and all those old guard homophobes that are mostly dead now, thank heavens. But these are the talking points that keep getting repeated over and over and over across generation just to demonize the LGBTQ community. You go to West Hollywood, one of the gay epicenters of the world, to basically play gotcha with a gay couple, and you don't expect quite literally a pushback? Come on.
The police arrest him and hold him for 12 whole hours.
I know.
It's insane to be like, the mayor of Los Angeles owes this couple an apology. As far as I'm
West Hollywood.
Well, it was in Los Angeles where it occurred, though.
Yeah, and all valid points. I mean, one of the things, working in an independent production company as a volunteer at this point, but one of the things I would recommend to people put in this position, if you're ever being interviewed, make sure you have something to sign and they identify themselves. They have ID. In this case, that they were really CNN crew. and that you sign a release, because then that protects you. There's a record, but then get a copy or take a picture of it.
So your crew doesn't claim they're a different news outlet?
No, we never misrepresent our brand. No.
But it's also, but that's what I'm going to guess that that they're going to claim in their defense that they are interviewing on a public street and public spaces, and you can film whatever public you want. The problem is that this gotcha tactic. Jesse Waters used it for Fox News. He used to work for Bill O'Reilly. He'll show up on the street, yell at people.
Said he was from Fox News, and he really was.
No, it's
Fox
fading.
News.
It's fading. Yeah.
I mean, I'm that liberal that was mentioned. Look, this is another story of a parent protecting their child, and I'm never going to say that. We've all been in a situation where you go into this primal instinct to protect those who are around you, whether it be your child or someone you love.
Yes,
I get that. I am also someone who's going to say, violence isn't always the answer. Unfortunately, it's like you have said, is where we're going. Unfortunately, because from what we've seen, because the dad was the person who actually did the first blow, he wasn't. That's not self-defense.
I think a jury might disagree. I hope a jury disagrees.
Well, here's the thing: if he's being baited with hate speech, then we're going down this different path. Which then, yes, you are defending yourself. So I hate the fact that we're even having these conversations, because unfortunately, this is not a news reporter. This is some kid, and we keep seeing this, going on a platform, getting clicks so he can get paid.
Mm-hmm. And of course he also whines about, liberals being the violence ones. If you see the video, you see the caption. It's like, rainbow flag, the left is violence, they threatened to kill me. And it is all designed to drum up sympathy and dollars. It's a grift.
The other thing I'll say, if a lefty TikTok person went up and accosted a right-winger and the right-winger punched them, I assure you that old white straight man would not be spending 12 hours in a prison.
No.
If they ever got charged at all.
It almost sounds like Niamey's an online version of the late Charlie Kirk.
Mm-hmm. There are plenty of them.
I've never heard of this particular content creator before. I don't think he's in anybody.
But the problem is there's more like him. I keep seeing them. There's people that go up and just punch people while the camera's on. One guy recently punched somebody, and the guy punched and laid him out. And so, this type of stuff is happening on a regular basis because it's what the general public reacts to. You react to a train crash, you react to violence, you react to public conflict.
There's a built-in audience.
Fort Lauderdale native Cavicular, that person's here all the time doing content.
The 20-year-old, he's a mess, and the truth is there's a whole ecosystem of people doing that. They even go overseas. Right now there's an American troll who is now imprisoned in South Korea because he basically insulted the Korean people on the street of Seoul and then expect them to not do anything because he went to Japan and people are just basically avoid him because Japanese culture of avoidance.
You have a choice, but your choice has consequences.
And I'll end my thoughts on this. I do think the one positive that might come out from this is maybe right-wing media pundits will think twice before messing with a gay couple again.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
That's true. Well, as my mom used to say when we were kids, you're going to face the consequences. So,
I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up faith. Ohio pastor who opposed LGBTQ plus visibility in schools pleads guilty to child sex offense. Silas H. Shelton, an anti-LGBTQ pastor in Wilmington, Ohio, admitted to 3 third-degree felony counts of unlawful sexual conduct with a minor. The charges stem from abuse that began in 2019 and involved a teenage girl from his congregation at Blanchester Community Church. Authorities say the abuse continued for several years, ending shortly before his arrest in October 2025. Shelton entered the plea on April 20th, just before his scheduled 5-day trial. Under the agreement, he faces a prison sentence ranging from 3 to 15 years and must register as a Tier 2 sex offender for 25 years. Prosecutors stated Shelton used his role as a pastor to groom and manipulate the victim, with incidents occurring across multiple locations. Other serious charges, including rape and sexual battery, were dismissed as part of the plea deal. Before his arrest, Shelton had been active in local school board meetings opposing queer representation in education. He criticized pride flags and called for removal of books like Heartstopper, expressing concern after his daughters encountered the title at a school book fair. Authorities described a pattern of exploitation linked to Shelton's position of the trust with the church and his access to victims through the community connections. Okay. One, this man has a daughter. So, unfortunately,
I hope that he is not anywhere near her.
So, well, exactly. And, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire. He's done this once. How many times has he done that? I also, I pulled up some stuff. So, we all know how much I love religion and organized religion, but I would love to quote their own stuff back to them because, you know, I don't know, you talk about it every day, but you don't practice it. And some of the things that the Bible actually says about sex is kind of interesting. It's for creation and purpose. God created sex as good and blessings and a way to form an irrespectable one flesh union. It is for pleasure. Proverbs 5:18-19. I am reading straight from the Bible, people. And procreation. Genesis 1:28. Where was having sex with a minor part of any of that? I don't know. Sexual immorality. The Bible forbids sex outside of marriage. Premarital, sex, adultery, prostitution, and incest. Sexual immorality is described as sinning against one's own body. 1 Corinthians 6:18. So you're married, you have a child, but you're having sex outside of the marriage. So you're sinning. So you're standing at a pulpit every day preaching to all these people. It looks like you're baptizing people in a beer tub at your church there. Please explain to me what was the impetus of you doing this?
And I just want to say two very obvious things. Not a drag queen, not a trans person.
Correct.
Once again, we are looking at a white evangelical pastor.
Not a gay man.
Not a gay man going around doing inappropriate things to children, and somehow we are the ones that get scapegoated all the goddamn time. I mean, we are talking about, I mean, every time this kind of thing comes out, it is always despicable acts created from a person of authority, in this case, pastors or priests or teachers. You know, these people should not be near children. These people should not be near children, and the more fervent they are quoting the Bible, nothing wrong with the Bible per se, but the more fervent they quote about it, the more loudly they protest against LGBTQ rights, they tend to be the ones who are the monsters.
Right, isn't that always the funny thing, is all the people telling us how we shouldn't have any queer stuff in the schools are the ones touching the kids?
Yes.
Like, why is that always
Amen.
the case,
Well,
people?
And also, if you listen to what I just said, if you're having sex within marriage, it's legal. That didn't say man or woman. Mm-hmm. And actually, there is Catholic doctrine out there, because I actually did a thesis on this, that says that the Catholic Church will recognize any marriage which is legal by government. That is their own words. So you can skew what you want out of the Bible, but if you're going to sit there and preach and then get off the pulpit and go to your back room and do everything that against what you just did, like that, to me, I don't understand how anybody out there in the world can sit there and listen to somebody and believe in what they're saying and then see. I guarantee that everybody in that community is going to be, oh, he was such a great man and he was this and he was that and blah, 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 blah. The guy was lying to you, but yet you're sitting there blindly following him.
Well,
there's a thing about indoctrination, as well as, you know, there are a lot of things that people can look at, staring at them right at the face, and they will still deny. I mean, the current political climate and a certain set of files. I mean, we're there.
Yeah.
There are still people who do not believe the fact that the file is real.
And I look at licensed professions, working in HR for over 25 years. I know that churches probably do not have an HR department, but one wonders if someone's going to have contact with sensitive populations. I would get criticism for this, but maybe some people who have especially interaction with children or people who are sensitive or vulnerable in those types of positions, maybe they should consider requiring some type of screening and background check at least.
Well, and there should be supervision.
Yes.
There,
Yes.
you're at a school.
Yes.
Your children typically aren't left with an adult unsupervised.
Exactly.
I don't know if it's still the case, but when I went to school, principals sent home paperwork saying, "Will you allow us to corporal punish your child when it was still around?
Wow.
And if so, do you want to be present?"
So first off, you look way too young to have had that paperwork.
I had that paperwork. I had that paperwork, and so there's that. So where were I mean, I don't want to blame the parents because it's not the parents' fault, but you're again blindly leaving faith in people that you don't really know.
Well, this is a big thing when it comes to the concept of pastors and the self-righteous evangelical crew. And I think this is a very opinionated loudmouth. Don't trust opinionated loudmouth people. Don't listen to them. Go make your own decisions in life. Don't listen to these guys. Don't let them near your kids. God.
And it is both a blessing and a curse. But in the United States, you don't need any training to become a pastor. You can just say, "I am a pastor. My trailer is my church, and congregation can meet there." And you instantly, once you establish that and register the IRS, you're instantly a nonprofit. You are instantly tax exempt, and as long as it's there are just no way for our government, because of First Amendment and the freedom of establishment of religion, that we can try to impose some kind of regulation on them.
Yeah, but we have freedoms of a lot of things until it doesn't suit the people that it's freedom for.
Yeah, so regulations you're seeing right now is
correct.
This man is going
we
to
have freedom of, we have freedom of speech until it's not. We have freedom of press until it's not. We have freedom of religion until it's not. So I do agree with you. Yes, a lot of organized religions. I do have friends who are pastors, and they do go through schooling, and they do have certifications through the church, but it's not government regulated. I get that. I just have a problem with people standing up at a lectern, saying these words, and then getting off the lectern and getting off.
Yes. Well, the hypocrisy continues. More on that soon, I'm sure. I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up gay culture. Time 100 Most Influential 2026 features queer leaders across law, fashion, sports, and entertainment. The Time 100 Most Influential 2026 list is out, and among them is Shannon Minter, legal director at the National Center for LGBTQ Rights. Minter has played a key role in legal challenges against U.S. military bans on transgender service members, securing injunctions against earlier policies before they were later reversed. In fashion, Mithal Blazy earned recognition for redefining luxury design. The French-Belgian designer gained global attention after his work at Bottega Veneta and now leads Chanel. Olympian Hilary Knight was honored for both athletic excellence and advocacy. A leader in women's hockey, she holds multiple world records and has pushed for equal pay and investment in women's sports. On Broadway, one of my favorites, Jonathan Groff, continues to earn acclaim, including back-to-back Tony-nominated musical performances. Actor and media personality Keke Palmer has recognized her impact across film and representation, including her openness about identifying as asexual. Meanwhile, Alan Cumming made the list for his standout role as host of the reality series The Traitors, blending performance with cultural influence. The 2026 list reflects growing LGBTQ+ visibility across industries, underscoring the importance of representation. Well, I'm glad to hear this positive story. It's reaffirming for our whole community and our allies. I think it's so important that we empower ourselves, and anyone who can bring talent to the table, we all have something valuable to offer in our community. So whether you're an artist, technically strong, you're a good communicator, writer, the list goes on, that's our power. We look at the administration now, and what can you say? a bunch of idiots. What do y'all think?
You're going to hear this from me first. So I've always been a very big proponent of saying that, being gay is not who I am. It's just a slight part of my identity.
Yes.
I always used to tell my friends, don't introduce me as your gay friend. I am your friend.
Yes.
I'm not a designer or architect because I was gay. Those came way before me coming out. However, with everything that's going on, I am glad to see that these people on the list are being recognized on top of being out, because there are so many people who are younger who don't see that positive representation right now. I always, said that, we always saw the Jacks, we never saw the Wills. And so I'm glad to see that we're seeing all of that now, and that some people will, be encouraged to come out or be out and be proud. So I haven't necessarily changed my stance, but I am glad to see that this is now an open discussion, especially considering as I saw the scroll of list of people that are on that Out 100, two of our favorite people, the 45 and his best friend from China are on that list as well.
But so I think I do wonder how many people under the age of 60 read Time anything, let alone the Time 100. So I don't know how many young people see the queerness. I think that, if you're going to do a list that seemed to me, I'm not a big fan of these sorts of listicles, unless I'm on it. Then I love it. But looking at the whole list, I would think you get at least 6 or 7 people that are queer just by the sheer statistical randomness of this particular list. I'm not shocked that Z is on it. I think that makes sense. I don't love Netanyahu, but I get why he's on it. I actually don't think Trump should be on it because I don't think he's leading. I don't think he's actually showing. I think he's just being dragged aimlessly.
Well, but he is. It's 100 top influencers, so
but I'm saying he's not influencing. I'm saying he's not influential. I'm saying that Xi, Netanyahu, they've been pushing Trump far more on the global stage.
I would say he is influential, not necessarily in a positive way, but he is influential in what is happening with it.
I mean, the Time is notoriously agnostic when it comes to recognizing who has influence or not. Remember in the late 1930s, they feature a certain German dictator as Person of the Year.
But that's my point. They are not, I also think Gavin Newsom shouldn't be on that list. I don't think Trump or Newsom are influential. I think they're being pushed by the other people.
I don't know. I think I would say that Newsom is influential because he pushed that referendum through that added 5 blue congressional seats on the California map as a counterpoint against Governor Hot Wheels putting 5 red seats in the Texas map.
You don't think Jeffries and Obama pushing it held any emphasis on that initiative?
I'm sure.
Or do you think Newsom did it all on his own?
No, but I think that as the governor of the state, he deserves recognition of helping get through to it. And also, I just want to say that I don't know if I haven't seen the full list, but I'm thinking we're missing an alpha gay because Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, is now ascending to executive chairman after 15 years and blow up the...
I agree, Bobby. We need another gay on that list. I'm around Time for...
Well, I would like to see Pete Buttigieg at some point make the list.
I think that come 2028, we might have a chance.
Yes, I agree.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up entertainment. Sydney Sweeney cameo cut from The Devil Wears Prada 2 ahead of May 1st. Sweeney had a brief opening scene tied to Emily Blunt's character, now leading Dior's U.S. operations. She was reportedly playing herself as a celebrity client. The scene was cut due to structural issues within the sequence, described as a difficult creative decision. Buzz around her appearance began in August 2025 after fans spotted her on set. This removal is raising eyebrows as it comes amid a turbulent year for Sweeney, including backlash over her American Eagle jeans ad, her political inclinations, and mixed reception to her role in Euphoria's latest season. Well, she made a lot of buzz when it first came out, but some may say she's a hypocrite. So, I think we could go around the table. I know what it's like, though, to be cut.
Or it was just cut because it was a bad scene.
Yeah, no. And sometimes sometimes you're cut. In this case, she was cut for whatever reason, but sometimes things are shortened so there can be more commercial airtime. And we all see that. So what do you all think?
The 2 most important things in this are, 1, the producers assure me that Sweeney does not support eugenics. Glad to see you just keeping the bar high, girl. And also, I loved The Devil Wears Prada. We don't need a sequel 20-something years later. Like if this was in 2015,
we do.
would have made sense.
We do. I'm sorry. We need.
I'm going for my popcorn first. The day it comes out.
I will go with you. Come and pick me up. I'll go with you. Yeah, because
I'll watch, but like
you're coming.
Let me know when
you're coming. You're coming. We're gonna have a debrief over cocktails after. And oh my God, sorry, Kim. For me, she just doesn't have the right vibe. She, that American ego genes is, blonde hair white woman talking about genes is a bad idea.
Like that named Brooke Shields at one time.
Yes, but when you mix it with eugenics and the euphemism of white genes or great genes,
I think the controversy with Miss Shields, and I love Brooke Shields, was she was a young woman and
she was 14.
I know she was put in a position of being an objectified young lady.
Yeah, but Sydney Sweeney is of age. It's the messaging of that particular ad that raises eyebrows, especially considered the day and age. It was last year. It wasn't 20 years ago. It was last year when the leadership of this country were talking a lot about racial purity and genes and, and wanting refugees from Norway. Not that we have any refugees from Norway, but...
Well,
thank you.
People do get cut from scenes. And I was once cut from a scene from Crocodile Dundee, one of my first extra roles when I was in college. And that typically, I think, is the version where they put in commercials when it was televised. So I was in the subway scene, if anybody cares. Probably not. Anyway, that's the way it goes, folks.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gaming culture. Kingdom Come 2 scores LGBT recognition, but director wants to deny woke tag. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 has earned 2 nominations at the Gaming Awards in 2026, including fan favorites and a Best LGBTQ plus character nod for Hans. The recognition highlights the game's optional romantic storyline between Henry and Hans, praised by players for its nuanced portrayal, while creative director Daniel Farver has welcomed the nominations, calling the relationship a point of pride. He also issued a lengthy statement stressing the game is not woke, arguing the romance was implemented naturally and as a player choice rather than a directive. Farver said the intent was to reflect historical context without forcing narratives on players. His comments have sparked discussion online, particularly given his past support for far-right's Gamergate movement during Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. Sorry, Mr. Farver, you cannot have it both ways. Yes, it's good that you put in LGBTQ representation in the video game, but then you can run around to try to placate the red-pilled masses that, this is somehow not woke, just because it is an optional storyline. The idea that by his own argument, anything that will be forced on the player will be woke, but video games don't work like that. You either like the game or you don't, and you have the characterization, one of them is gay, then one of them is gay. And this is not even the first time that it's an optional storyline. There are games like Mass Effect where you can choose a same-sex companion. I'm sure there are other video games too, but I mostly play City Builders, so City Builders don't have gender. And
I would say it's not woke in general, because if he's saying that it's historic, reference, I mean, put 2 men in an isolated area for a long enough time, it's going to happen. We all know this. Did you watch Brokeback Mountain? So
Oz.
the odds are in their favor. So I wouldn't say it's woke either. It is historically fact that there were gay people back then as much as there are gay people now.
I just think that it is more like speaking from both sides of the mouth. On one side, they're like, hey, I'm progressive. There's a gay character in this game. And on the other side, they're like, oh, but it's not woke, guys. Don't mistake us.
As an actual hardcore gamer, I'm going to have to referee for a second. This is just good gaming mechanics. It's not woke. It's just good gaming mechanics.
Yeah.
You in games like Kingdom Come 2, which I have not played because I'll be honest, it just doesn't look like a very good game. you get to pick your character. You get to build it. You get to pick whatever gender, and you get to talk and interact with the other characters. And a good game is done in a way where, like, you as the player get to decide. If you want to have the most woke fairy rainbow unicorn boy adventure in Kingdom Come to, go do it. You want the most brosexual, like, straight white boy video experience, you can do that. And that's what makes a good game, is giving player choice. When you force feed certain things into a game, I find that doesn't work. There are some games where it makes sense, where the character has a very specific narrative and it looks a very certain way. But most games, it's great to make your own looking character. I always make the hottest little femme twink boy imaginable. Who knew?
I mean, I have seen Alex's game, and that is true. He does like to make his characters twinky.
So I do have to say, if you have been playing Dead by Daylight or Arc Raiders and an alphabet mafia has killed you, not sorry. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up drag culture. RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 11 cast revealed, with fan favorites returning. RuPaul's Drag Race gears up for All-Stars 11, premiering on May 8th. The new season brings back a diverse lineup: Akira C. Davenport, April Carrion, Aurora Marari, Dawn, Jasmine Kennedy, Joey J. Kennedy Davenport, Morphine Love Dion, Sugar Cane, Silky Nutmeg, and Vivacious, among others. With over 200 queens having competed across 18 U.S. seasons, All Stars continues to offer returning contestants another shot at the crown, with $200,000 and a cash prize and a place in the coveted Drag Race Hall of Fame. Last season saw Ginger Minge take the title, which just goes to show anyone can be a queen. But like, in reality, I'm just gonna be blunt, I think RuPaul's Drag Race has run its course. I'm now just with Dragula now. Love you all. Carry on with your opinions and let me know what names I butchered.
Look, 18 seasons is a lot Seasons. I mean, despite and you know, at some point, just like Survivor or The Bachelor, you know, the format can get formulaic and. They have a lot of been there, done that.
They have changed All Stars. So last year they did this bracket, and this year they're bringing the bracket. So they are trying to change it back. As someone who started the RuPaul's Drag Race viewing party at Lit Bar right at the pandemic, I am a fan favorite.
Yes.
And I am there every Friday at my seat. You can find me all the time there.
Do they still lip sync?
They do everything. There's lip sync battles. There's musicals. There's comedy. There's everything. I mean, I do agree. 18 seasons. We are getting to a point where we have queens showing up on this that were born and have been growing up with Drag Race. So the originality is getting crazy. Yeah. But Morphine Love Dion, one of our town heroes, is going to be on. So I'm excited.
And we've had some past people featured. You look at Susie too, and many others. So Florida is really bringing a lot of folks to the screen, which is great.
I'm excited to see her.
That is a good, quick little point. That for a state that tries to ban drag queens, you get so many of them. But you know,
we will prevail.
Yeah, I just hope that drag race. I just feel like it's the drag of 10 years ago and hasn't really evolved, and it's time for something new.
LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up lesbian and queer women. NYC names Black lesbian archivist to lead records agency. New York City Mayor Zohran Mandabi has appointed Shanta Smith-Cruz, a Black lesbian archivist and librarian, to lead the Department of Records and Information Services. Smith-Cruz, a Brooklyn native, will help shape how the nation's largest city preserves history and manages access to government data. Her appointment comes as national debates intensify over LGBTQ plus history and public records, including controversies tied to Stonewall National Monument. Smith-Cruz brings nearly 2 decades of experience across institutions like Barnard College Library and has focused on expanding access for marginalized communities. The move once again reflects Mandabi's broader push to elevate LGBTQ plus leadership. I mean, we could also just look at the fact that she sounds like she's a perfect candidate for the job. Again, she's lesbian and she helps for marginalized, but she sounds like the perfect person. She's a librarian. That's her job. She wants to, preserve history and records and make sure that libraries are supposed to be for everybody, not just a select few. That's why library cards were free and anybody could get one. So I think this is a perfect thing. I like, again, the fact that she's a lesbian, and it helps, again, push the fact that there are people out there that are gay and lesbian that are doing good things, but let's just say that she's the right person for the job.
I mean, like in a city of over 8 million, I would imagine there's more than one qualified candidate. There's probably hundreds of qualified candidates. So I do think who you pick matters. I have to say that, like, of course I'm wearing red because I wanted to, like, support, like, the story. Like, I just love what Mondani did. You know, in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale, we have FLL for the airport. Well, we have a black lesbian librarian, so they got a BLL there, girl. So good for you, girl.
And I just want to say that Mondani has also done recently with Obama, doing a sing-along that was really cute.
Yes, the socialists are very much upset about it on Reddit.
Why?
Yeah.
Because he's hanging out with a traditional liberal.
It's Obama.
Yeah.
It's Obama. You know.
They're socialists here. We'll teach you later. We'll teach you later.
Well, and I think this is very reassuring and positive with everything else we talk about and the negative side of the right. I think it reminds us too that we need to support local organizations like the Stonewall Museum here in Fort Lauderdale, and we hope that they can expand and really preserve the history and it's not erased.
Maybe we could elect a few Mondanis down here to help us with that.
There we go.
All right, fine. You for mayor then.
1 Minute News, let's queer up South Florida. Hotspots magazine features Zarna Garg, who bridges cultures for LGBTQ acceptance. Our Hotspots Happening Out LGBTQ lifestyle magazine, Hotspots, is back with a feature on comedian Zarna Garg, a rising ally using humor and storytelling to support LGBTQ families. Known for her role in A Nice Indian Boy, Garg is helping shift perspectives in immigrant communities. She says, quote, "We have a responsibility to show up in this world and to share, if nothing else, a little bit of positivity," end quote. Through comedy and advocacy, she's becoming a powerful voice, encouraging parents to embrace their LGBTQ children. This feature story and many more included in your free copy of the upcoming issue of Hotspots magazine, which is already on the stands today. Check it out. Well, I think that's great. And I think it's really showing progress in our society, especially people who are international or have established themselves here to, I think, humor brings people together. And even, some people might say, well, sometimes, you shouldn't make fun of other groups or things, but she's making fun of the reality in her culture, as many of us do or have, or our families or ourselves. So I think it's a positive move.
I think it's great that there are people inside immigrant communities who would take their time to support. I mean, there are not going to specifically name certain communities because that would be stereotyping, but there are immigrant communities who are really not supportive of LGBTQ rights. As an Asian, trust me, I know that part of it pretty well.
I mean, like, I think Zarna's hilarious. I find her stuff super, super funny. I think it's so wonderful when comedians bring up their culture and history and both have fun with it, but also share it to the world. Like, if someone's like from an Irish Italian background, like, I think it's a good thing when people of their own background to make those jokes. If you, as a random non-Italian, try to tell me how loud Italians are, I'll be like, that's disrespectful. Now, are we all loud? No comment.
Well, I mean, we can always make Catholic jokes. Irish,
Italian. That's problematic. Thank you.
No, it's not. I went to Catholic school.
I mean, look, they always say humor is, the great
brings
uniter.
Uniter. Thank you.
Yes.
I've had a pregnancy. Blank.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I love the fact that she can bring humor to things that are happening in our own community and in our own culture, but also that it allows people to go along and then maybe stop and think, hey, she had a little bit of truth in there.
Yes.
Now, I do have something I think we could all get united around. That man had a shirt on that cover. What was Hotspots thinking?
It was a good shirt. It looks like he's trying to fix your home with that thing, pry bar or whatever it is on the cover.
Everybody, here's a gay man trying to fix a house.
These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform.
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Larry Farver, and I thank you for joining us on behalf of my fellow LGBTQ anchors here at Queer News Tonight, Dr. Bobby Huen, Alex Morash, and Rex Rogosch. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you a good night.